Let's take you now to this live briefing. Public Workers Minister Dean Macpherson and eThekwini Mayor Cyril Xaba are set to announce steps to work together to address bad buildings and inner city rejuvenation. Let's listen in.
Repurposed, we can generate revenue from them. We want to reiterate our state with all stakeholders to rebuild our city so that it remains the premier destination for investment and tourism. I thank you. I now hand over to the Minister, who will then give his remarks or input in this regard.
Thank you, His Worship the Mayor, Mr. Cyril Xaba, to the officials here and to members of the media. Thank you for joining us on this late afternoon for what I think is an important and historical briefing. Since I was elected as the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, I've said that the key to the success of this government of national unity and my department is to work with all spheres of government, nationally, provincially and locally, to help unlock the potential of state-owned properties and land so that they are used for public good to turn South Africa into a construction site. We are therefore gathered here today as part of that commitment of this government. We are gathered here in my hometown, the city that I so dearly love, and in a province that has the most incredible potential to become a beacon of hope, with our newly elected mayor, Cyril Xaba, to lend support to him to get the city working for all of its residents. Having met with the mayor earlier this afternoon, we've agreed to establish an important joint technical task team between the city and the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure to address a number of bad buildings across the city, to ensure that state-owned properties pay their rates on time, and to assist in Durban's inner city rejuvenation. I'm absolutely committed, Mr. Mayor, to ensuring that our public assets are used for your public's good in eThekwini. The task team, which will meet on a monthly basis and report to the mayor and myself every 2 months, builds on the momentum that the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has built up in eThekwini over the last few weeks. The department has already started to take action to resolve issues facing abandoned and partially hijacked Excelsior Court building in the Berea, the possible redevelopment of the former police barracks close to the Durban inner city, and the soon completion of work at the Durban Magistrates Court to ensure that the building is fire safety compliant. However, the technical committee will further accelerate these efforts by working closely together within the Metro to identify, reclaim and redevelop bad buildings and address issues of revenue head-on. The task team will devise formal strategies and plans to expedite investment into state-owned properties and to attract additional investment into the inner city, while it will have to keep track of interventions to ensure they achieve the desired outcomes. This will aid in Mayor Xaba's efforts to repair and rebuild the city of eThekwini to ensure that it meets the needs of the long-suffering residents of this once glorious city. In this regard, I commend Mayor Xaba for his willingness to work together in the spirit of cooperation, which is the cornerstone of the government of national unity. The reality is, KZN can only work when eThekwini works. It's too big to fail, and we are entirely committed to playing our part, Mr. Mayor. We have heard from residents that one of the biggest problems they are facing is the inconsistent supply of water, where they often can go for a week or more without water in their taps. Without water, eThekwini will not function or survive as a destination for investment and tourism. The department, through Infrastructure South Africa, is determined to partner with the city to help in its infrastructure development in the water space so that we can solve this problem once and for all and together. I look forward to working tirelessly with Mayor Xaba to ignite economic growth in the city and the region in order to create jobs which will improve the lives of all of our residents. This is our daily obsession as the GNU and the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Through reclaiming hijacked buildings, improving revenue collection, and revitalizing the inner city, we'll be able to restore investor confidence and unlock additional investment into the region with the ultimate goal of improving the quality of life for everyone who calls this magnificent city home. As the Minister, I will work with the City and the Mayor to unlock additional infrastructure development and funding across the entire region, which will further accelerate job creation and resolve issues like the water crisis. Mr. Mayor, it's my firm belief that eThekwini's best days are ahead of it, and I look forward to working with yourself to achieve this goal, because together I know that we absolutely can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You have my full support. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, members of the media. Thank you so much, Minister Macpherson, for the statement and commitment we have just demonstrated. Thank you so much, Your Chief, for the statement as well. This was a roadmap, members of the media, in terms of our collaborative efforts between the municipality and the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure in ensuring that the inner city program for the city of eThekwini does reach its full potential in terms of turning around the city. So we are excited about the partnership that we are starting with the department. With that, members of the media, I will now open the floor for any clarity-seeking questions around this platform, this partnership between the city and the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. I can see one hand, second hand, third hand, any take, the fourth and fifth. So we'll start with those 5 hands and then come back with another set of questions. Thank you so much, Minister.
Just their name and where they come from.
Mayor Dean from Eyewitness News. Out of the identified buildings that you say have been hijacked, are there any buildings that you have not been able to identify as to who they actually belong to? Minister, just an hour ago, 5 suspected construction mafias appeared in the Cambertown Magistrates Court. They are charged with intimidation and disruption. They disturbed work at a construction site, I think in Umsungus on Saturday, and they were arrested by the provincial trustee that was formed to take care of these. It seems as though, despite your firm stance that you will not be tolerating construction mafias, it seems they are not backing down. We are aware of recent threats to the MEC of Public Works, and latest one being a bullet casting next to his car. What then is to be done in this regard, seemingly that they are not backing down? But lastly, have you received a response from the police in the province as to whether or not they will be continuing using that now abandoned building as a police barracks? Thank you.
Mine's not working, but I think my voice is loud enough. Jane Wilson from the SABC. My question is on the backdrop of Mabaso. Just on the ground construction mafia, should there not be a weasel of some sort to try and mitigate some of the issues or the impasse that's currently taking place now? Because it's been ongoing, it's still ongoing, and like Mabaso said, 8 construction sites were disrupted. So just if the Minister can maybe give us more clarification on the engagement with construction market. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Question number 3.
From ENCA. I have 2 questions, one for the Mayor and one for the Minister. I want to start with the Mayor. Last month, one of the opposition parties declared to us that National Public Works, the department, owes the municipality about 18 million rand, and they also disclosed that a lot of government departments are currently owing the municipality a lot of money. They're not paying for their services. How is this partnership going to make sure that government does pay the 18 million municipality? And my second question has to do with the 900 buildings the last time we spoke to the eThekwini's municipality, you said there were over 900 buildings that were left abandoned or not taken care of. Where are we with that number right now? If you have a revised number, or we're still sitting at 900? Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 4.
Lee from just a question about the rejuvenation of these buildings and where will the funding come from to rejuvenate these buildings, because we say they handed over to the city. Essentially, the big problem sometimes happens is who funds the rejuvenation, will it be the city or will it be the Department of Public Works?
Thank you. That was question number 4. And the last question will come from the side.
My name is Cyril Xaba from SABC. My question is, how much has been set aside for this project? And the second one is, you mentioned that there's, if I'm not mistaken, there are 16 buildings that have been hijacked or really been occupied. If you are continuing this project, so what have you to do with those who are occupying this project? Are you going to throw them out to the street, or what are you going to do?
Thank you so much, members of the media. I will now invite the Minister to respond, as well as the Mayor. The Mayor will be assisted by the Deputy Manager for Economic Development when it comes to technical questions around the number of buildings in CBD, which are bad buildings. Thank you.
Do you want to go first? All right, let me start. Colleagues, good afternoon once again. Thank you very much for your questions. Obviously, the questions on construction mafia, we'll leave them to the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. Let me start by saying that we have agreed on forming a technical team that will look into the details and of the issues that we have identified in this meeting. Problem buildings or bad buildings, and that are in the Minister's portfolio and within our own city. And we said to the team, they're not only limited to look at those, they must also look at other buildings that are in the ownership of the state and consider whether they should not be brought into this discussion. As you know, when that happens, it means that you must consult with the authority that owns those buildings. And I must say that you know, the bad buildings, you know, they have a negative contribution to the city, and they destroy investor confidence, and already they raise issues, serious issues of safety and security, and they pose a threat to the occupiers themselves. And let alone that the city is not generating any income from those buildings, because as we said, some of them have been hijacked and others are being used as a hideout and by syndicates. We have also identified that in fact only about 23% of those buildings are in the hands of the state. Let me say, between national and province on one hand, as well as the local government on the other. 77% are in the private hands. Then the question arises, and whether we'll have funding, where will funding come from to rejuvenate these buildings. Well, look, we like we said, there are various options that are available to the owners of the buildings. Is for the owners themselves to refurbish those buildings, or they agree that we demolish those buildings on cost recovery basis, or they agree to redevelop them, sell them to someone who's prepared to redevelop the building. and also we work together and for the hijacked buildings to be brought back to the owners. Of course, and the courts will play a central role in this process. It is in this context that we would approach Chief Justice or Judge, President, whoever will have the necessary authority in this regard, to appoint a dedicated judge who will actually help us and to deal with these cases and on an agency basis. Because as you know, there's a PI Act that we still need to comply with. It's starting to be a bit of a problem, because as you know that if you are going to demolish a building, you must then say what are you going to do with people who are inside that building, and so we need to look at that. And I thought I should just raise those issues, and so that you are aware that in actual fact it's not going to be the state doing it all by itself, but we'll work with the private sector. And I'm told that they are willing to come to the party as long as we would actually give them the necessary incentive to do their work. And I think on the numbers, besides the numbers that you have spoken about, I think the DCM, who is responsible for economic development, will give you the numbers. So far, the numbers we are speaking about that are under consideration and that the technical team will look at are those that we have so far identified. There may be many more that are yet to be brought into the into the tally, so that we really resolve this building. There is just no way you can be able to deal with the rejuvenation of the city for as long as we still have these eyesore buildings standing in our city. There's just no way you can deal with the issues of safety in the city for as long as we have hijacked buildings in the city. It is in that context that we are working in partnership with the minister, whilst at the same time we also ensure that we review our bylaws and make our bylaws even more stronger when it comes to ensuring that we really enforce the law, so that people feel the wrath, feel the authority of the state. And thank you so much. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's also important to say that we will seek to conclude and sign the memorandum of understanding between the department and the city within the next 14 days. That's what we've given the task teams to finalize the agreement, so it will be a binding agreement between us. In Nhlanhla, let me first say that I welcome and commend the South African Police Service under the leadership of the Provincial Commissioner, General Mkhwanazi, for the work that they have done in arresting 5 people linked to the construction mafia. I was there at the Camperdown court, and there was a lot of toing and froing, and eventually the SAPs and the prosecutors were able to remand these 5 people in custody for further investigation. I've also been informed this morning by the Provincial Commissioner that another person was arrested in the Point area for trying to intimidate construction workers within the Point area. So definitely government's reaction and response to the mafia is being ramped up, and we should welcome that and we commend it. And I think that is an indication that the government of national unity will no longer tolerate, accept or negotiate with crooks and gangsters who seek to hold the state hostage or extort money from us. And so a lot more needs to be done. and we want to see them in prison. That's the only negotiating that we should be having, is around the lengths of sentences that they will be having in Westville prison. Now, the response by from the SAPs on the building, we've given them 30 days. That letter has been sent to the minister. And this is not being done in a confrontational way. This is being done in a way to say, if you don't want the building, let us know, because we'd like to take it to the market and see what could be done with it. Maybe the municipality would like to make an offer, or maybe there's a development, or maybe there's social housing. Maybe we can come to a deal with a developer that we will use that for government office space instead of renting the expensive offices we do in Umhlanga. And we want to use examples to see what works and what doesn't work, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to devise a new strategy for us in terms of asset management. As a policy, we are seriously discussing and considering and modelling around ring fencing all of the state's property assets, instead of them just floating in the department without being managed by a board, a company, and without any having real evaluation to it. We should be leveraging the state's property assets to generate income, to advance social infrastructure, and to be used for other purposes by the states. And that will be an innovative new way of how we manage and look at the state's assets. And Mayor, you're right, there might be buildings that we still don't even know about, because the reality is we actually don't know what we own. And that is an indictment on us. Jade, we have started the discussion around a national summit around the construction mafia, or the stoppages at construction sites. We are eagerly looking for a date where we will convene the 9 provincial MECs, law enforcement, as well as ministers responsible for the justice and enforcement cluster, because I think it's important that we speak off of one page sheet. You know, I get confused and frustrated when people say, well, they're business forums, not construction mafia. These are people that walk around with AK-47s, they commit violence, murder, and extortion. These are not business forums, these are not community organizations. These are well-armed, well-resourced, intelligence-driven individuals that are terrorizing the state and terrorizing communities. And so I will not have any engagement with them. I'm not prepared to talk to them. I'm not prepared to negotiate with them, because you don't negotiate with extortionists. When you start off on that foot and with people who commit violence and murder, you are on a slippery slope to anarchy. And this government of national unity is not one that will be entertaining anarchy or extortion in any way. Letiwe, we must pay our dues as a government department. It is not fair to hold back service delivery in local government on the back of us not paying our debts. But equally so, government departments that owe us money, that we colloquially refer to as clients, and I've asked my department to stop calling them clients, because clients pay you. We have debtors that don't pay us. And you know, we get audited by the Auditor General for not collecting money owed to us. But government departments are not audited for not paying us. And so we've written to the Auditor General to say, what is good for us must also be good for other government departments that don't pay us, because it makes life very difficult for us to pay on when we ourselves are not getting paid. Lee, there has to be new funding models that are sought. And this is what excites me, is that there is a huge appetite within domestic funding institutions to partner with us to look at inner city regeneration. I met with a major financial institution last week, and they are absolutely excited and keen to finance build operations on buildings that we own. So, of course, we either need to dispose of them or we need to provide long-term leases. But their focus as a financial institution is inner city regeneration. We don't have the money that is required. So we're either going to have to seek it in the private space, or we are going to have to seek to offload those buildings that are costing us an extraordinary amount of money every month in maintenance to other departments, to other spheres of government, and see what we can do. But my end goal is to turn our assets into a generating machine. We have to start generating our own cash through the optimization of our assets. It is crazy that we own 88,000 buildings, 5 million hectares of land, and we have an estimated value asset base of 155 billion rand, and yet we have a 3 billion rand overdraft because we can't generate enough money. We have to change the financial situation of this department. And instead of borrowing money, we need to start generating money. And that's the sort of policy mind shift that we are looking at. I've answered the question in terms of how much money have we set aside. And look, we have to follow prescripts of the law. So people who are illegally occupying buildings, we will have to seek court orders to evict them. And I think that it's time that we re-look at PI, whether it is serving the interests of government and of the country, that people are allowed to illegally invade buildings, illegally invade land, and then demand, alternative accommodation when there isn't even money to provide accommodation for people who are on the waiting list. And often we've seen this in the city of Cape Town. The mayor has documented this well, that the moment that development's about to start in a government precinct or building, it's invaded. And then it comes to a halt. And then you can't do anything with it. So we have to make sure that our sites are secured, and I've also insisted that our team does that, because we're never going to be able to use public assets for public good if our sites continuously be invaded and taken over, and then, we lose them. So thank you very much.
Yes. Now, just to add one point, on the money owed, the team will accurately identify those buildings that are owned by Public Works and owe us money, and the value that is owed to the city. The figures that have been bandied about, I don't know what source, where they come from, so I wouldn't want to comment on the figure that was mentioned. I would wait for a technical process to look at that and come back to us, and then on those basis we engage with the minister. And the city stand ready to acquire some of those buildings from you, Minister, that we think the city would require for its own accommodation needs, and then we can work out how we settle between the two, between the city and your department. I'm excited by this spirit of cooperation between yourself, your department, and ourselves in addressing the issue of city rejuvenation. We must reclaim this city back from people who are now roaming our streets and making our place unsafe to live in. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Worship and Minister. On the spirit of cooperation, I can say there's one more hand.
Okay.
I'll let James do the Afrikaans.
All right, just a wrap up. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ngicela ukubonga umhlonishwa ungqongqoshe we-Public Works and Infrastructure, and ngokuthi sihlangane namhlanje kulo mhlangano ngokuba soxoxa ngokulungisa itheku kakhulukazi le ndawo ekuthiwa i-CBD esenkabeni yodolobha othola ukuthi inamability asenabantu abangaziwa ngaphakathi kuona ngoba bawadunile njengoba bewadunile badla ama-services ethu, badla ugesi mahhala, badla amanzi mahhala, kuney'ntambo ezilengayo amawindi afile, enza nje ukuthi idolobha libukeke kabi. And sesithi ngeke sivume lokhu ukuthi kwenzeke lapha edolobheni. Nomhlonishwa sivumelene naka amability akhona, amanye onishwa asezandleni zabangasese private owners, and amanye asezandleni zikahulumeni ila mability esithi built buildings. So cabanga ukuthi ngokubambisana sokwazi ukuthi lenkinga sixazulule ukuthi laba angasadingeka ama-building angasadingeki awiswe bakwethu, kuthi laba abaningazi babawasadinga bawenze abe mahle abukeke kahle, bawudayise kulabo abafuna ukwasebenzisa ukuze sikwazi ukuthi itheku lethu libe lihle liphinde livuselele ugqozi kulaba abafuna ukuzotshala imali eThekwini. Uma usubheka manje baziningi inkampani ebekade zilapha eThekwini, itolo ezinkulu ebekade zilapha eThekwini, abahwebi ebekade belapha eThekwini ngaphakathi kwi-CBD enkabeni edolobha, asebehambile manje sobathola sebekwezinye indawo ngenxa yokuthi idolobha aliseyona lento ebekade beyazi iyona. Kumsebenzi wethu ke udolobha silungise ukuze kufike futhi bonke labafuna uzotshala imali bazotshala imali eThekwini ukuze kube safe, kube nokuphepha kunombani ohamba lapha edolobheni. Igebengu lezi ezikhona ebhecoshe amability lawa khona lapha enkabeni edolobha zingabi na space zokuthi zikwazi ukusebenza. So qinisa umthetho ke lapha namaphoyisa ethu emetro namaphoyisa eSouth Africa ukuze siqinisekise ukuthi konke lokukhohlakala okwenzeka lapha lamability esalapha enkabeni edolobha ilaba sebayothathile bakahulumeni nalaba abathathile ezandleni asezandleni zabangasese private owners ayalungiswa, kwenzeka ukuthi ingabi khona into yokuthi baqhubeke benze inkohlakalo kulowo mability. Siyabonga nje ukubambisana nongqongqoshe, sibonga ukubambisana nama-private owners laba esixoxisana nabo ebebengasasikhokhela intela, ecabanga ukuthi ngokubambisana kanjeni bazobuya bazosikhokhela intela, sikwazi ukuthi ngokuba khona la mability lapha eThekwini kube khona inzuzo engena emalini zikamasipala ukuze umasipala aphinde alungise itheku. Okwethu umsebenzi ukuthi senze itheku libe lihle, libe clean, idolobha lethu libe lihle, libe clean, senze ama-beach ethu abe mahle, abe clean, abantu bafuna ukuzobhukuda ukuze labo abafuna ukuvakasha eThekwini laba esithi ama-tourist bakwazi ukufika eThekwini bazobhukuda eThekwini ngekhathi abafanele babhukude. Ayikho indawo enhle njengetheku, noma ungaya kuphi le ndawo abantu bayasho ukuthi eThekwini noma ngabe kusebusika noma ngabe kusehlobo itheku indawo abantu abafuna ukubelona babalekiswe nje kuphela ile nkinga ebekade zikhona esithi sifuna ukuxazulula itheku libuye libe lento lalilona qala eligcwalayo ukuze umnotho walapha eThekwini ukwazi ukufukuleka, abantu kuvuleka amathuba emisebenzi, abantu bacoshe amathuba bakwazi ukusebenza, abantu lapha eThekwini bakwazi ukukhokhela nemali lezi esizidingayo ukuthi basikhokhe zama rates nezamanzi nezobani ngoba bazobe sebesebenza. Sibonga kakhulu bakwethu ukubambisana nomhlonishwa nabo bonke abantu nabasebenzi bonke abamasipala abasilekelayo ukuthi konke lokhu kwenzeke ngendlela ekufanele ngabe kwenzeka ngayo kube possible. Siclean itheku and libe lihle, abantu balithande bazofaka imali zabo eThekwini. Siyabonga.
Siyabonga kakhulu members of the media. We have come to an end of our media briefing. Thank you so much for making time to be part of today's session. Umluleki Tunga will be at hand to assist you with one-on-one interviews with the leadership. Well, above that, you may send us your inquiries through with regard to our inner city regeneration program so that we can unpack more information around the interventions that are already in place on the program to rejuvenate the inner city of Ethekwini. With that,
if you want an Afrikaans medium, we'll do it on the side.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You have my full support. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, members of the media. Thank you so much, Minister.
Right, let's come out of that briefing. Of course, that was Public Works Minister Dean Macpherson, as well as the eThekwini Mayor Cyril Xaba, announcing the new steps that will be taken to address the bad buildings and inner city rejuvenation. Of course, this comes at the back of complaints from residents, for one, that for years buildings have been dilapidated and ignored in that particular city.